Bubba Scrubba, a scripted monologue, Volume 2, Episode 2, marker. Good afternoon, everybody. Today's topic is going to be the ultimate Trump taco. And boy, does this take the taco. What I'm referring to, obviously, is this memorandum of understanding that we signed with Iran yesterday. Basically, being spun by the Trump administration as, the finish line to this whole stupid military intervention in Iran. And it is anything but. It is what it says it is. It's a memorandum of understanding that our two countries will work together over the next 60 days to try to hammer out a long term deal, and anything can happen between now and then. It's very likely that one side or the other is, going to break the ceasefire, is going to launch a missile or something like that and blow this whole thing up. And the markets will react accordingly. And, the people who get rich off of that will continue to do so. And the rest of us will, sit here on the sidelines and watch it all happen, watch it get just rammed down our throats. But, um, one of the most striking things to me is that this whole situation, every negotiating session, not one of them has been attended by your sitting Secretary of State slash National Security Advisor, Marco Rubio. This has been J.D. Vance, Steve Witkoff, and Kushner doing this. And, the former because it appears that Trump wants to throw him under the, proverbial political bus, and the latter because his billionaire buddy and his billionaire son-in-law, these are the guys that are trying to work the real estate deals in the background or whatever it is. Anyway, it's just another in a long line of capitulations by the Trump administration, and really does underscore that despite the fact that this guy is now serving his second term as POTUS, he learned nothing in the first term. He is a complete amateur. He's a complete dilettante, not just domestically, but also with his foreign policy, and is literally just a reality TV star cosplaying as the president. So, what did the US gain? From my perspective, we didn't gain anything meaningful from this MOU or from the Iranian military intervention at large. The Ayatollahs remain in power. Iran still retains decades of enriched uranium. And most importantly, Iran still controls the Strait of Hormuz. Make no mistake, this is yet another in a long line of American follies in the Middle East where the American taxpayer is sold a bill of goods and ultimately foots the bill, all the while strategic direction is influenced by outside pressure. In this case, that pressure was provided by Bibi Netanyahu and the State of Israel, whose ultimate goals are obvious, and who has leverage over Donald Trump in the form of the unredacted Epstein files. This also applies to Vladimir Putin and explains Trump's decision making as it pertains to Ukraine. He is forced to walk a tightrope where he has to at least appear in step with our European allies, but in reality has been sabotaging Zelensky at almost every turn. So, what are the costs to Americans, regular Americans? The financial burden lands squarely on the American taxpayer. We're the ones funding the military operations, the reconstruction stipends, and whatever follow up commitments come next. This is layered on top of domestic spending controversies, the ballroom, the reflecting pool, the Kennedy Center, and the Arc de Triomphe. Each decision adds another line item to the untenable national debt, and which could be better spent updating our aging infrastructure, funding Medicare, or backfilling Social Security so that people like you and me don't have to accept a reduced entitlement due to insolvency. Back in 2008, I visited Manhattan for the first time and noticed the national debt clock was at $9.5 trillion. When I visited it again in 2022, that figure had ballooned to 31 trillion. Think about that. Meanwhile, the middle class is getting squeezed. People like me and you are getting crushed by rising costs across the board. Property taxes are climbing, insurance premiums are exploding, and inflation has touched every single part of daily life. It feels like the cost of simply existing has doubled, and most of us bridge the gap by running up exorbitant amounts of high interest credit card debt, consolidation loans, or tapping into our retirement savings if we're lucky enough to have some. And while everything gets more expensive, wages aren't keeping pace, leaving families stretched thinner than ever. I've been unemployed for 6 months, and the job market is brutal. There are literally no job prospects for a middle aged white collar employee such as myself, and which is its own psychological torture. And even if I do find something, it's unlikely I'll ever make what I used to make, as my old pay rate feels out of reach in this economy. So let's connect the dots. When you step back and look at the bigger picture, the pattern becomes impossible to ignore. Geopolitical shocks benefit the Epstein class in the form of reduced asset prices. Domestic policies drain the middle class so they cannot take advantage of this reduction, and the people in charge seem insulated, if not outright benefiting from the consequences. It's a cycle that repeats because the incentives never change. The same players run the same plays, and regular people like me and you are left dealing with the fallout. There's a real emotional weight to all of this. People are exhausted, frustrated, and financially strained, and watching billions flow overseas while we struggle at home. So, what can we do about it? Well, first and foremost, we have to stay informed, and we have to stay informed in the best way possible. You cannot rely on traditional news outlets, the internet, social media, what have you. You have to get your news from all of these sources, and you have to use critical thinking to parse out, I mean, I guess what you think is the bullshit, so that you can try to make as informed of a decision as you possibly can. Also, we need to stay positive. We need to stay positive as a society. It's very hard for myself to continue to stay positive going on 6 months of looking for work when I'm not talking about just trying to get another white collar corporate job. I'm talking about Home Depot. I'm talking about Walmart. I'm talking about Goodwill. I've applied for all these places and nobody will hire me. I understand why, but it's extremely frustrating. And more than that, it beats you down, you know? And the only thing you can do is try to stay positive, to stay upbeat, to try to find things to do in your personal life, whatever those are. In this case, I'm trying to do something with this YouTube thing. And, um, hopefully that will get you through some of these times. Another thing that we need to do is we need to stay solid as a society, as a population. And I get so the thing that frustrates me the most, more than Trump, more than his, you know, harebrained, idiotic schemes and whatever else he's doing, is the fact that when you read comments about things, I mean, there are just so much vitriol, and the whether it's foreign governments or the elite class, the Epstein class, working against us, they have done a great job of dividing the American public against itself. We need to remember that we are all one country. We are not enemies. If you're a Republican, a Democrat is not your enemy, and vice versa. I know that it seems painfully naive in today's society, and humans are tribal by their nature, but we are an easier force to be conquered if we are divided than if we are standing solid with each other and respecting our differences, our political differences, our financial differences, our what have you, and coming together for the good of this country. And I think that there's only so much that we can do if you're looking at your neighbor as the enemy. And I'm guilty of this, and I'm trying very hard not to do this. But it is virtually impossible in today's society to pick a side and whatever. I'm on my own side, and that's what I advise that any American does. Vote your conscience, vote in your own self interest, but have a reason why you're voting the way you are. I've had some people leave some comments on some of my other videos talking about how they say I have TDS and that I'm completely blind to Trump because I have some hatred for him. I don't hate the man. I pity him. Moreover, I pity the people who are in the cult that don't know any better. Okay. And the thing about it is that I asked this person, I said, give me one reason, just give me one solid reason why you support Trump. Okay. And if they had said, well, because I hate all brown people and black people and I want them all deported. Okay. I guess that's a reason. Or you could say, you know what? His financial policies have lowered my tax bill. Okay. I could understand that. But no, all these people, all they do is go back to this stupid ass culture war where it's, oh, you're, let's go, Brandon. If you're from California or you're from New York, you're an automatic liberal. The same is true for the other side. They look at people in the flyover states and they say these people are a bunch of country bumpkins, that don't know any better. And that's the farthest thing from the truth. We have so much more in common than we don't. But anyway, I hope everybody's having a good day. We're going to continue on with this no matter how disjointed these videos are. This is a new start for me. And so, take care now. Bye-bye then.